You're a home buyer, somebody or a young person looking to buy a home, you need a bit of a reset.
There is a possibility on the other side of this that inflation could actually be quite low.
Welcome back to Real Estate Mindset. Today's video is going to be absolutely bonkers. I flew all the way to Miami, Florida, you guys, during what appears to be, I don't know, a Category 1 hurricane with absolutely incredibly strong winds to talk with our fan of our channel, the sensation, the master of Florida real estate and economics, my man, Michael.
What's up, guys?
How are you doing, brother?
Good, man. How are you?
I'm absolutely wonderful, man. Hey, you guys, give a shout out to Michael. Go to his channel, show him some love below. He's didn't have to take this time with us, but I have Michael here today. He's gonna give us a better idea of what's happening in Florida.
No, it's almost hurricane force winds here today. It's supposed to be Christmas.
I mean, my hair is straight back right now, so let's try to walk this way, bro. Tell us what's going on with Florida. Obviously, so far, Florida has been pretty, resilient, per se, with housing market prices. We haven't seen a lot of, pricing decreases, and we are starting to see that right now. So can you tell us what you're seeing right now in Florida?
So many people moving in here, and it looked like things were never going to change. Things were never going to come down here in Florida. But that's not the case anymore, because right now in Florida, inventory is very close to being back at pre-pandemic levels. In fact, if you go back and look at any inventory chart throughout the state of Florida, typically pre-pandemic we had anywhere between 130 to 150,000 homes listed on the market at any given time. Well, right now we're at about 120 to 130,000 homes, and so the inventory levels here are recovering back to where they were before, and prices are already starting to see some declines because of that, guys. So if you go and look at areas like Southwest Florida, for example, Naples and Punta Gorda and Sarasota, Bradenton, Tampa, these areas are seeing huge upticks in inventory throughout those areas, and prices are starting to come down. I mean, we're starting to see prices come down anywhere between 1 to 3, sometimes even 5-6% year over year in some of these areas right now. And I expect that's going to continue. You're starting to see inventory pick up in some more of the inland communities as well, around Lakeland and that area. We're seeing it happen on the east coast of Florida, near the Daytona Beach area, near Melbourne, Florida. And, Miami's been kind of like the outlier, Miami's always been the outlier of Florida. It almost might as well be its own state, really. And here it's still the opposite, Inventory's still down. It's not down year over year. It's up about 5% right now. But the prices are still up as well. In Miami, we still have prices up 6-7% year over year. It seems to be pretty relentless here, but it's slowing down. We're not seeing the double-digit price increases that we saw, throughout the pandemic. I mean, one year, I think we had almost 20% price increase here in Miami in 1 year. Yeah. So those days are over, thankfully. And other areas where the inventory is exploding, we're starting to see prices come down. And so the days of Florida being like, untouchable in terms of, price reductions, those days are over, guys.
A high percentage of people that live in Florida that are on a fixed income, maybe they retired here, they're making only Social Security. Oh my God, this wind is crazy, man. This wind is crazy, you guys. I'm trying so hard to keep the audio good. Michael, can you talk about like those, adjusting financial expenses? Because remember, guys, when you get a mortgage, yes, your interest rate is fixed, but your property taxes and your homeowner's insurance fluctuate with the value and assessment of your house. Can you talk about that, Michael? And I'll try to veer us out of the wind here.
Yeah, that's a good point, Travis. I mean, that's something that's probably pushing most people to sell right now in Florida, because if you're in a situation right now where your property taxes, just went up 20% and your insurance went up 30%, how many years of those increases can you handle? And that's kind of a big problem for people, especially like Travis was saying, who live on a fixed income here. That's not sustainable. And the problem is even worse if you live in a condo, because then you have HOA assessments that go up along with that. You also have, special assessments that can happen. And, the problems are just compounding with all of it, really. And I don't know if that's the reason why we're seeing such an uptick in inventory. I know some of it is due to the fact that we have a lot of new construction here, but also you're just seeing people sell, guys. And let's face it too, like sellers are always behind the curve. Like people think that, you know, they can stretch these high prices into infinity, but now more and more people are realizing that the party's over and they're selling these properties now. So that's why you're starting to see the inventory tick up. These prices for these property taxes and insurance are not going down. It's going to continue going up for the foreseeable future. And if I can't afford it now, I'm definitely not going to be able to afford it in 2 years or 3 years from now.
Yeah. I've been watching is how much supply. Let's go this way. Oh my God. We're going to go into the wind, you guys. We're going into the wind right now. I hope you're going to be okay. Hopefully I don't stop on any landmines, if you know what I mean. We're at a park right now. But Michael, I've been watching how, you know, basically hyper supply form in the new construction market. In Texas, we're the #1 state of new construction. Florida is the #2 state of new construction. And can you talk on how you think, you know, the impact of new homes, the clusters of new homes, is going to impact the prices of existing homes in areas that have clusters of this new construction here in Florida?
The whole stretch between, say, Fort Myers and Sarasota is where you're seeing the most new construction happen. And if you go online and look at prices over there in those areas and also existing home inventory, that's where everything's shooting up, guys. You have the most amount of increases in inventory in this area. You have the most amount of price declines in that area. So this sheer amount of new construction that's being built in these areas is taking a big impact on the local markets, you know. But then you come to a place like here in Miami, there's nowhere left for new construction, guys. There are some spots, if you go way down south, you know, near Homestead, which is basically not even Miami anymore, where you see new developments. But even there, those are super expensive. We're talking, you know, homes almost $800,000 to $1 million for a brand new house over there, which is a far cry from what you can get in Central Florida, still in the 300K mark right now. So, you know, it's definitely having an impact on prices here, and it's a good thing. You know, that's what we've all been waiting for, right? We've all been waiting for prices to come down, and now it's finally starting to happen, even though at a slow pace.
I was going to go to Homestead, guys, and fly the drone because they do have, like you said, new construction in Miami down south, but it's, you know, tiny little places, and some of them, Michael, they're for sale for $700,000, $800,000, $900,000. The reason I didn't get the drone, you guys, is because it will fly out of the air and crash into something because of the wind. Do you see any type of, like, you know, retirement crisis going on? Do you see hope in the future? Tell us a little bit more about what you're seeing here.
Well, in the immediate future, I don't really see any hope, to be honest. As far as people who think that it's going to get cheaper to live here and still want to, like, live the cheap retirement dream, those days are basically over. Back when I first started my channel a little over 4 years ago, I used to make a lot of videos showing people like, hey, look, you can buy a house that's like 10 minutes away from the beach for 300 grand. You know, like, those days are gone everywhere, even in places where prices are falling. And, you know, really the biggest problem, guys, is the insurance. You know, the insurance here in Florida, we're the #1 state that's getting hammered right now with insurance increases. To give you an example, in my building where I live in a condo here. In 2022, our annual insurance bill for the entire building was $400,000. In 2023, it doubled to $800,000. Now, that's a double, okay? And a lot of people are facing, you know, increases that are triple, sometimes even more. You know, I've seen people go from paying $5,000 a year in homeowners insurance to $20,000 a year or $14,000 a year. You know, it jumps exponentially, and that's not an expense you can plan for. And part of the problem is so many insurance companies have left Florida. It's starting to get a little bit better now because Citizens Insurance here is the insurance company of last resort. And basically, that's the only company that will write a policy on many different properties here. But now, we're starting to see more companies come back into the state, and Citizens has a new law where if you can get a policy with another company that's within 20% of the cost of Citizens, then you have to take that policy. And more and more people are starting to get these policies and get off of Citizens Insurance, which is a good thing. So we could be heading in the right direction in terms of insurance and affordability with that. but I think we have a long road of recovery. You know, I don't see it getting really substantially cheaper anytime soon. And if we get hit with another big hurricane in the next couple years, all those savings can be erased overnight, essentially.
With citizens and the insurance companies moving out of Florida is absolutely bonkers. I mean, you know, in Texas, we definitely have the advantage to be able to shop our home insurance. You know, we have the advantage in Texas to file homesteads for our property taxes. Texas just passed a law, $100,000 off on our assessed value. That is a big deal. Michael, is there any way to save money right now if you're a Florida resident on property taxes and insurance? What could people do?
Yeah, so when it comes to insurance, usually the only thing you can do in most cases is maybe get a new roof, make some reinforcements to your property. That will help you save money on insurance for sure, and maybe get a better policy and give you more options for more policies and not just be limited to citizens. When it comes to property taxes, there's a couple things, guys. We have homestead exemptions here as well. So you can get a homestead exemption, but the problem is if you buy a property now at these prices, you're gonna be locking in a high property tax bill pretty much anywhere. And so to save money on that, there's only a couple things you can do. Number one, you can move to a low property tax area of Florida, because a lot of the more inland communities have the lower property tax rates, and you can pay relatively low amounts in taxes, especially because the home prices are lower there, because you always have to remember the amount you pay for the property is kind of close to the initial assessment that you're gonna have on your property tax bill, and depending on where you live in Florida, that bill is going to be anywhere between 1.5% to 2% of what you paid for the property. And so you can get your homestead exemption, but here in Florida it's kind of tricky, because supposedly how it's supposed to work is your assessment's not supposed to be able to increase more than 3% per year. My property tax bill went up like 13%, okay, even though I have a homestead exemption. And it doesn't matter, guys, because even though the assessed value did not go up that much, the school taxes went up. And I forget what the other taxes were for, but it was something for like the local utilities or things like that. Do a quick Google search of like, you know, the property tax rates for all the counties in Florida. You can kind of look to see which ones have the lowest property tax rates and start with those areas if you're looking to move here or, you know, retire here and you don't want that huge property tax bill every year.
You think Florida is in worse shape than Texas, and why? But before I, you know, kind of ask that question, can you give us some intel maybe on what's going on with STRs, you know, like Airbnb, VRBO? You know, Texas, as far as Dallas right now, has absolutely destroyed the STR market. So, you know, in my opinion, Michael, and I know there's I understand both sides of the coin. You don't want the government infringing upon your property, I understand that. But I also don't want hotels where I live in a neighborhood, and it really feels like it's kind of a hotel. And I'm not talking smack on the owners, I'm talking about the, you know, tenants. So what are you seeing in Florida's a big state, obviously. Yeah. But dude, there are so many STRs in Florida, it's absolutely ridiculous. Can you tell us a little bit about if you're noticing any changes?
More places are already starting to regulate this, not like in the sense that Dallas is in Texas, you know, where they're completely banning them in certain areas, but more places are starting to restrict where you can do a short-term rental. They're starting to impose taxes on it. That decreases your profit margin, and when you combine that with the fact that there's so many short-term rentals in certain areas, you know, you're not going to be making the return that people were making 2-3 years ago. And so it's slowly changing here. It hasn't flipped overnight. Like here in Miami Beach, where I live, for example, there's always been a strict ban on short-term rentals. There's certain areas in the city here where we're walking that you're allowed to do it, and certain areas where you're not. And in all single-family homes in the area, you're not allowed to do it. And if you get caught breaking those laws, the city will fine you up to like $10,000, $15,000 per occurrence. So, you know, that's something that we've had in effect here for as long as I've lived here. And it just depends on where you live in Florida and how much they crack down on this. Like, I've been to other areas where it's free reign, you know, like I think in, you know, a lot of areas in Southwest Florida, there's no restrictions on it. Like, you can open up a short-term rental tomorrow and you don't need to really do anything, and it's no big deal, you know, but there's too many people doing it already is the problem.
Yeah, and Michael, you know, personally, I think Texas is in worse shape than Florida. And the primary reasons, other than the equity run up, other than, you know, how unaffordable things are, but, you know, primary reason, number one, new construction. Now I understand the migration is huge into Texas, but Florida actually has more migration. I think Texas is in worse shape this time around than Florida. We already see 3 to 4 metro areas, Dallas, Fort Worth, Houston, San Antonio, and Austin, so 5 come in and out of the year-over-year median sales price decline list. Texas has over Florida is the aggressiveness with the STRs. Do you think that Florida is in worse shape than Texas?
I think that highly depends. You know, it depends on migration, like Texas, or like Travis was saying. You know, are people going to continue moving in here at the pace that they did during the pandemic? Well, they're already not. And a lot of people are leaving now because the expenses are too high. And, you know, the kind of the cost benefit and the allure of being here is not really there anymore. If you came from an expensive area and now it's almost as expensive as the place you left, you know, it's kind of like, well, what am I doing here? You know, maybe I should just move back to where I came from, or maybe it's even cheaper now where they came from. And so, you know, Florida's a place of transplants. I'm not originally from Florida. I've lived here for 16 years. But, you know, everybody here from Florida is from somewhere else a lot of times. And just as easily as people come, they can leave.
Yeah.
And I think it largely depends on that. In certain areas where there's, you know, the big new construction developments, certainly they have more downfall to hit those areas. But, you know, if you're living in an area where there's not a lot of new construction and inventory is still relatively low, are we at immediate danger of home prices, you know, plummeting? No, but that can change as more inventory comes to the market. And like I said, all you have to do is go look at Southwest Florida right now. That's kind of ground zero for the amount of inventory, guys. Inventory in this county is up 120% year over year, guys. I mean, show me other places in the entire country where inventory is up 120%. So yeah, if you live there, you're gonna be seeing price declines that you're already seeing right now. And it's just a matter of, is that gonna spread to the rest of the state? Is it gonna spread to the rest of the country? I think is, you know, the question a lot of people are asking themselves right now. And the reality is nobody knows, guys. Like, we just don't know. We can try to make our best guesses here on YouTube and kind of look at the data and see what's happening and make an informed decision from there. But at the end of the day, it's a wild card.
Being that we're going into a presidential election, and I'm not getting Republican or Democrat, I'm just saying, man, I mean, it gets really dicey these times of years. It's really hard to say I agree with you. Now, Michael, if you can, you know, can you just end with maybe giving a message to consumers, not the top 1%, you know, not investors, but, you know, normal people like me and you know, that are struggling, that are frustrated, that are trying to figure out, okay, what's going on? Why are interest rates going down? Prices are just gonna keep going up. We can never buy a house again. Let's just give up hope. Let's charge our credit cards and let's just try to keep comfortable until the very end. You know, can you give those people, you know, like me, some hope, Michael, a message of hope?
Yeah, well, first of all, if you're living off your credit card, stop doing that, because that's really bad. So you need to get out of that first before anything else. But assuming you take care of that and you get out of the credit card debt, I would say is just start thinking for yourself, guys. Like, you can listen to us for opinions and information, even if you want to listen to the regular news as well. But you need to be doing your own research, especially if you're somebody who's like on the sidelines who wants to buy a house and you're just seeing all the situation now where you're saving a significant amount of money renting and you can invest that difference, then you should be doing that. And maybe forget about buying for a little while until things kind of calm down or at least regulate and things become more normalized. And if you're somebody who's paying more in rent than what it would cost you to buy, maybe you should be looking at how can I become a homeowner? Even in this crazy time, it might still make sense for you. You know, everybody's situation is individual. That's one thing that no matter how many videos I make or Travis makes, like, people just don't seem to understand that everybody's situation is different. Literally every single person I've talked to has a different situation. The question's always the same: should I buy or should I sell? But the circumstances that surround someone's life is going to dictate whether the answer to that question should be.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the thing that people need to look at. You know, if you can save a lot of money renting and you know, don't need to own a house, then why be in a hurry to buy, is something I would say to somebody like that. On the other hand, you know, if you're in an area where inventory's always low, you know, it has been historically, and you see prices continuing going up and you're afraid you're never gonna be able to buy, well, if you think it's the right decision to jump in, then do it. But, you know, nobody can make that decision besides you, you know? And all we can do is kind of give some guidance on that.
Before we get out of here, hopefully we don't get impaled by anything. And hopefully I did okay on the audio. I'm really trying hard, guys, but this rig is like, gotta be 20, 30 pounds. My shoulders are killing me. Anything you wanna say before I let you go?
Well, just like what I was saying before, guys, just, you know, think for yourself, be careful, don't make any rash decisions like Travis says, you know, don't just listen to the first thing you hear in the media that says, oh my God, Dave Ramsey says you're a fool for not buying a house, or so does Barbara Corcoran, so that means I should go buy something. You don't listen to that. You look at what's happening with inventory in my neighborhood, what's happening with rent prices in my neighborhood. Are home prices actually going up? Are they going down? What's going on? You need to figure those things out for yourself. You know, and if you're not doing that, then you're just not ready to buy, unfortunately, guys. That's the sad reality, or the hard truth, really. It's not sad, it's just the hard truth that if you're not doing your homework, then you're just not ready. But if you want to, you know, become a homeowner, you need to be ready.
Don't forget to go to Michael's channel. Now, if you're out there investing in real estate, you know we wish you luck, and we hope you win.